Afternoon. How are we all doing? Good afternoon, Danny, Julio, Ian, Gregors, Edward, Mark, Hoog, Martin, Megatron. How are we doing? So we've had some news. Nothing exciting, but we've had some news this afternoon. Canadian dollar and US, but nothing great. Afternoon, Neo, David, Alistair, Day Trader, Peter, Kennelly. Still strange coming on early. I know it's weird, isn't it? It's good though, because you get to finish early, which is always good. I do like it. I'd much rather be on at 1:30 for the New York Open. It's much nicer because you finish early, don't you? Meh. They'll change it all again. So news-wise this afternoon, we've had the Canadian GDP. And hello, there we are. So Canadian GDP came out this afternoon at 0. We're expecting a 0.1. So basically GDP is unchanged. Not recession, but not growth, nothing. The unemployment cost index came out at 1.1, which is a 0.1 hit. Doesn't tend to do a lot. So not a massive amount of movement this afternoon. We've got the Chicago PMI. Sorry, no, that's come out, hasn't it? Chicago PMI's come out. No, sorry, Chicago PMI. 2:30. I'm getting confused with the news. It's like this is the first day we've had news where it's been straddling the open, which is all weird. So 1:45, which is quarter of an hour now after the open, we've got the Chicago PMI. And then we've got consumer confidence at 2 o'clock, half an hour after open. So we've got a couple of news events coming which might move the market this afternoon, but we'll see. And then the big one is this evening, which is the unemployment rate for the New Zealand dollar. So I've scaled out of some New Zealand today. I've just got out of the New Zealand dollar Swiss. So this is kind of a two-stage exit, if you like. I took some of it off on Friday. With a nice profit and did a little bit of drawdown control, and I've just taken the rest of it off this morning. So just one less New Zealand dollar exposure to have ahead of the news, really. Took some US dollar yen off this morning. Not this US dollar yen is not working, so took that one off, and I took that one off this morning. That was the oldest one. That had cost me $350 just in swaps to hold the thing. So I've dumped that. It's flown straight through the previous week's intervention high, and it's still going. So this will come down very quickly at some point soon. But this move is, as I say, the ADR indicator only goes to 225. There's no point in measuring beyond 225 ADR. We only go above that 2% of the time. The 250 level was 1 point something. Then when you get above 2.75, it goes to 1 point something. And then you get to 0 point something as you get to the 300s. There's no point in measuring beyond 225. It's 2% of the time. We're beyond it. If you're going to hit it, doesn't matter if you hit 175. There's no point in measuring any further. So it's just an astronomical move, basically. We are now 197 off of a 67, so loads off the top. So yeah, I've put another one on at the high there, and I have, as you can see, sell stops scattered below, so that when that intervention move comes, I'm going to try and get some more on. I probably won't get those filled at those levels. They'll probably fill somewhere ridiculous down here, because the intervention move will literally be so quite fast, you just won't get the orders filled. So, but at the moment, nothing. So we've got radio silence basically at the moment. From Japan, that is, anyway. So this morning, obviously, we've had bits and pieces. We've had some earnings out, but nothing major on the earnings. Just saw something else fly past. OPEC, there we go. October oil output rises by 180,000 barrels a day, led by Nigeria, Angola, and Iran. So What's that done to oil today? I haven't looked at oil today. Nothing. Just wiki today. So other than that, news-wise, person close to the central bank. So China are going to add more liquidity, print more money. Does that mean? I don't know. Something to do with China anyway. Not interested. Right. So that's it. So there's news. Not banked anything this morning. Say just down ever so slightly, 1% based on the Japanese move. Everything else is pretty much as is. So just waiting on all that. DAX this morning was awkward. Banked 0.5%. So I did 0.48% this morning. We got hedged, so we flew out the lows, was expecting to try and attempt that low and then do the gap fill, and it decided we wanted to go long, so we went long, pushed up into yesterday's high, sold off yesterday's high. So basically, as we came down and we pushed out of this propulsion gap, I closed the shorts and took that loss. The idea being closing the shorts there, that the market structure was going to carry on to the upside and we were going to put in a new high and rally up to Friday's high, which is there. And that's exactly what we did, hit Friday's high and then bounced. But it just took forever to sit there and do nothing. So I got out of the longs as we broke that high, just in case it was going to be a drop, which it was. Ooh, but it did manage to get up to Friday's high. So that was my initial plan, was to exit shorts, take longs off at that high, but I got out earlier because I had money and it was just being a pain in the arse. So it's going to be a pain in the arse. I jumped ship, and I did. So that's the DAX. We've got downside gaps on everything today. So if we look at the US indices, we've got these gaps to the downside from yesterday to fill. We basically ran away yesterday and didn't look back. So there's the Dow. We've got the S&P gap to the downside, which is that propulsion gap at ADR. And then we've got NASDAQ. We've got the gap to the downside, which we didn't fill. We've also got the DAX gap down from yesterday, which we haven't filled. So there is a lot more reason to drop, apart from the fact that we're in a bear market at the moment, but there's a lot more reason to drop than there is to rally today. So if we do rally to the upside today, we might have short-lived rallies. We're above. We've already taken out yesterday's high on the Dow. Other than that, it's really that monthly level there. US dollar Swiss just hit ADR as well. There's ADRs all over the place today. So upside, I would look for double top, failing that ADR. But downside, obviously, 175 ADR is the gap fill. I don't think we're going to make that today. It'd be a big move if we did. Bloody hell, market's rallying at the open. We're not even open yet, but the market's rallying. Let me just move over to the other charts. How long we got? 5 seconds. So we just watched the open. So NASDAQ long already. Not a lot of volume coming in though. Look, there's hardly any movement at the open, so very low volume. So I'm just putting some orders in the market. Short on the Dow. Sorry, I've just got. I'm trying to trade manually, and I hate it. So short the Dow, long the NASDAQ. No movement on the S&P so far. So yeah, so everything's downside. Upside, I would be looking for double tops on the pre-market highs. Downside, obviously, those gap fills are over an ADR away. So if we do break short today, S&P's gone short. There's a good chance we might have a nice flush on our hands, but we will see. Okay. So Dow is the main mover so far. Nice target on the Dow today. That accumulation. So there's a good chance we might get a bounce off of that level as well. So that's a nice target to aim for today for the downside on the Dow. Looks like the hedge is going to go in on the NASDAQ, potentially. See where we go. So have a look at the FX as well. So ADR's mostly yen today. We'll have a look at all those in a minute. Let's watch what's going on with the open. Afternoon, everybody else I haven't said hello to. Evans, Yotko, Akini. Don't know if that's Akini or Akeen. John, xrupdate.news. Amy, EMAC, Virginia. S&P 500 gap from the 25th and 26th is not being closed, not yet. 25th and 26th. That one, that's filled. Well, I would class that as filled. Officially, that's the gap. But if it fills pretty much to the roundabout the low of that, it's an area. It's not a level. It's an area. I'd class that as a fill. It's next day fill. That was done, I think. That high is also slightly higher, isn't it? But it might come up and do it. No, it's pretty much the same level, look. Ish. Difficult to tell. But yeah, I mean, officially, that's the gap. Entry for US 30. I'm in. Yep. Short already. Afternoon, James. Afternoon, Fletch. So hedged on the NASDAQ. Everything else is short at the moment. Although it's not really setting my world on fire as a short, but it is short. NASDAQ's starting to make some progress. There we go. Bit of a break on the way now. Blimey. Really slipped on the S&P. I need to just change that offset. 15, is that right? Change that offset to 7. That's a bit too far. Right, nice flush out the lows now. So NASDAQ target, because we're hedged on the NASDAQ, target on that is going to need to be a bit bigger. So 5R basically is down below the gap fill. And we've got that low there yesterday, which is only 3R. So there is potential we're going to find some triggers there. Obviously, that's pre-market. Then it's down to this low down here. So if we can flush down, 5R is basically just beyond the gap. So want to watch price action when we get down to the gap fill. Might move that target to 4. Actually, just going to move it up to 4R on that one. Everything else is just normal. Typical, the one that is moving the most and going to hit target is the one that I'm hedged on. Always the way. Still rallying on the US dollar yen. John, what is your spread on the US 30? Nothing. It's difficult to measure, but maybe 2 pips, 1 and a bit. Can't really measure it. There you go. 2. Tiny. Go away. Okay, 2R hit to the downside on the NASDAQ. Unfortunately, got hedged on that. So that's annoying. The Dow on its way down to target. S&P also on its way to target. Might get a hit on the Dow. US 30 sell, yep. You've asked that, Gundo, already, and I've already said that. Short. You can see it on the screen, look. Short. It's already gone short. Short. Short, short, short. Everything's short. Everything's broken to the downside. That's annoying. That's the only thing that's hit target, look. Hedged. Typical. DAX is selling off as well at the minute. So Dow, we're just finding some support coming in on the Dow down here. So we're just pulling off that high. Absolutely to the pip, look. So that's a wick test there. Just short of TP, unfortunately. It's annoying. I don't like the look of this at all. I'm just getting ready to close out the Dow because I've got the S&P short still anyway. Just don't like the way that's bounced to the pip off of that low. I'm just getting ready to close this. If we break the high of this candle, I will take whatever I've got, which won't be a lot, but the S&P I've still got short. I'm out of the Dow. Don't like the price action on this at all. Might be the wrong thing to do, but I don't like the price action. That's too coincidental. Yeah, that high there broke it. We just tested it to the pip and bounced out of that propulsion move. So that move there that started that end of day rally yesterday has held this morning. They bought it back up again. We've just tapped into it and they bought it back again. So it may not hold. It may absolutely slam through it, but price action just looks wrong, doesn't it? So That's $560. So I'm just going to put that in the bank. NASDAQ still short, S&P still short. We've struggled as well on the NAS there. Look, but if we break that low, we should be okay. And if I can get a TP out of that plus whatever I get there pays for that hedge, which means it's a profitable day. So overall, will be a good day, but we need the S&P to flush 1R. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my other terminal. There we go. See what happens. We'll leave that for the minute. Just take that line off. So yeah, out the Dow, just on the price action. Don't like the look of the price action. The other two seem to be holding at the moment. So if we can just get this held here, if we can break that low, then whoever's buying this level up is going to get run over and it'll flush down, and we should get target hit on the S&P. That'd be enough for the day, really, for me, I think. Then I'll just close out the NASDAQ. Or I might leave the NASDAQ running. There's no pressure to close it out. But would like that S&P to hit. Right, let's have a quick look at FX while we're waiting for this to decide what it's doing. So this morning, if you weren't in the live run this morning, we looked at the yen move. So yesterday, the Japanese came out and said, we're looking at the yield curve, adjusting the yield curve to make it more profitable. There's a potential that we might change our interest rate structure. We are negative 0.1. We have been for 6 years. We may change that and start to give positive interest rates, i.e. fall in line with the West. And everyone went, wow, fantastic. At last, you're doing something sensible. This morning, we had the interest rate announcement and monetary policy report come out for the yen. And they decided to do completely the opposite to what they said yesterday. So that massive rally we had on the yen yesterday, they basically undid the entire thing by saying, no, only joking, as if it's a game. And the market obviously screwed them. So the yen has just completely collapsed again today, which drives it above that previous intervention level. So we're now back above 150 and basically aiming for that 152, which is the previous intervention level from October last year. So this is the line in the sand now, 152, which is miles away. I say miles away. It's not miles away when you're doing 300% ADR days like we are at the moment. So this could well just continue to rally. If you look at the US dollar, we've just had positive news on the US. So that's rallying. So we've got this massive weakness we've just had in the yen, which means everybody's basically pulling all the money out of the yen and putting it into the US dollar. We've just had positive news on the US dollar, which has given that a rally. So this is the perfect storm, obviously, at the moment, the US dollar yen. So not sure quite what is going to happen with this yen, but as soon as this sort of thing happens, we get the same old thing coming out of Suzuki and Ueda, which is we're closely monitoring FX moves, which is what they said this morning, 7:15, I think it was. Something like that. Yeah, I won't comment on current FX levels. No, I wouldn't either, because you've just caused this FX movement. So overnight, it's important for current... Right, finished? It's important for currencies to move stably, reflecting the fundamentals. They are. You screwed the fundamentals this morning. They are reacting exactly as they should be to what you said. Don't know why they're coming out with that. What were they expecting us to buy the yen when they just turned their tail and run the other way? No. So don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, when you get moves above 150, we get intervention. So I really don't know what they're playing at with this move. It's a very, very odd move on behalf of the Japanese. At the moment, as you can see, everything is rallying against the yen, where 150s ADRs are all extended beyond belief on all the yen pairs. However, when you look at the vast majority of these yen pairs, we still haven't made new highs on that one. The CAD yen is obviously been coming down because of oil. Swiss yen, not really an awful lot of impact. Euro yen, that one's flown. But everything else is kind of getting back up to highs and reacting at them as well. So it's only the US dollar yen, but that's the one the Japanese are interested in. So it's a very odd situation with this this move that we've had overnight, or rather this morning. So it's difficult to know what to do with it. So I've scaled out of some. I've added another one on at a higher level, which brings my average up a little bit easier. So I still think that's on the cards, but right now I'm not convinced it's going to come until we get back up to this 152 level. It seemed like that did the trick, and then it seemed like it didn't. So they tried again. That didn't work. Pushed up. They tried again. That did work. They screwed it. I don't understand. If you get what you want, the last thing you want to do is tell the market to do the opposite thing. So something weird going on, something unusual. There's other things under the hood here we're not knowing about. So yeah, all these yens I think are still really good shorts. But right now, it's very difficult to see the wood for the trees, isn't it? So all the yens extended on ADR. Swiss yen, CAD yen, Euro yen is like off the charts. Aussie, US dollar yen's obviously off the charts. There are a couple of other ADRs sprinkled in here. The Euro Swiss. So big move up against the Swiss. If you look at the other Swiss pairs, there's been a little bit of weakness on that today. Pound Swiss is up. New Zealand Swiss is up slightly. US Swiss is up. That's above ADR as well. So we've had money coming back out of that Swiss franc and everything able to push against the Swissy again. Not dramatically, but it is starting. So yeah, Euro Swiss is potentially a good ADR reversal. I've got a short on that because it's an H1 extension. So there's your H1 RSI extension. M5 reversal alert is there. Yeah, so short one on that. We've got the potential second leg going in now. So Euro Swiss target wise to the downside. I kind of like to put it there, but that's not a lot of money. So I'm going to go back for a double bottom on that propulsion gap, which is there. Just look for some kind of reaction at that low. So that's an extension to the upside. You just had the reverse alert on that one. Euro US dollar has also hit. That's just nuts. Look at the state of that. So Euro was flying this morning. US dollar has just had good news. So that's come off. There's no way you'd have got into that very easily because of the speed of the movement. That was a news event. So your reverse alert only happened there. You've lost pretty much half an ADR on that. So you wouldn't have had an entry on that one. And you got US dollar Swiss. So that was a nice big extension to the upside. We're still waiting for a reverse alert on that one. However, obviously weak Swiss franc, and we've just had strong US dollar, so that might be quite difficult to get back down again. So watch this one basically for a reverse alert if you want to take it short. But we've got a couple of good levels coming up. Actually, it's not really a couple. It's that level there, really, I'd be interested in. Which is about 150 ADR. So if it can push up to there, that would be a much nicer level to get short on that one. Indices are a little bit stuck at the minute. There's an awful lot of volatility coming in. We've got news, haven't we? So we just had Chicago PMIs. That's the one that's going to be the mover at 2 o'clock. So market's still coming, looking like it wants to come down, struggling a little bit. If we look at the S&P, we're just trying to make new lows. So we've got good push up and rejection on those candles. We're just having a crack at that low. We should get a flush on that down to this level if we can break and hold that low, which it looks like it's trying. Spam. So we're holding up in this propulsion gap at the minute. I'm not sure we're really going to get a flush on this for the next 10 minutes because we're probably going to wait for that news. So Do I want to take this off? Not now. There we go. Out the lows. There's not tricky, isn't it, today? Oh, it's very tricky. You know, you get these days where they're just tricky. This morning's DAX was tricky. This is tricky this afternoon as well, because that pre-market low is a decent level, but there's also this level right here that we're tapping into right now, which is this propulsion move. So we had this accumulation, propulsion break, test. They added there, and now we've blown through it. That's okay then. So now we've blown through that. We're looking at this low of this propulsion gap, and then the pre-market lows. That should hit TP. We should be able to get that. However, it's very jittery, and I'm just conscious there's 8 minutes to go until news. If I don't hit target before the news, I shall be jumping ship on this. Dow Jones is just about to hit target as well. Oh, no, it's not, because I'm out. Sorry, it's about to hit target on my other account, which I haven't got out of. I got out of this one. I didn't get out of that one. So many accounts running. Sorry, bear with me a sec. Just closing that one, just because I want to bank it and protect it. Sorry. Flicking around MT4s. I've got 4 MT4s open. 1 I'm trading manually. 3 I'm trading with the EA. There's a lot going on. I'm going to close half that S&P there, just in case they buy this level up and we rush back on the news, because we've got news coming out. If that comes out as a negative US, the indices will probably get a bit of a pop. So there's still 7 minutes to go, but what I don't want to do is just watch them buying this up for the next 5 minutes here and then take a chance. The difference between me taking profit there and taking profit there is just not worth not taking profit and protecting that second half. That's just put $900 in the bank. So if it hits target, great. It will just run and flush potentially, but I need to just get the P&L up to a decent level because I've locked in 0.78 on the NAS. So it's a guaranteed win day. I can't lose now. I just want to make sure of that, basically, so I can focus. Sorry, bear with me a sec. Right. Sorry, where? God, I've forgotten how hideous it is manually trading and how much you have to focus and how much you have to do when you haven't got EAs doing everything for you. It takes ages, doesn't it? Anyway. So, yeah, there is all your ADRs. Just be careful with these yens. Obviously, the yens are all over the place at the moment. So we'll see what happens with those. But I would expect if this continues to move, the Japanese will be screaming at us tomorrow morning. So SIH eventually worked out on the DAX and the FTSE. Yeah, good. What's that 1H hedge file up to? I don't know. I haven't looked at my VPS for a long time. We'll have a look. Afternoon from Pontevedra. Afternoon, Blue Trader. Is that a Nokia ringtone? No. Nokia. Right, RSIs. So we got 4 minutes to the news. EuroCAD is an RSI on the 4 hour. That's obviously come off of extension now. So you are extended and embedded. You got up there yesterday. So not yesterday, sorry, last week. We just got extended again above the 75 level, and it's coming off nicely off of the monthly. So EuroCAD is a monthly bounce. Forget that. That's a horrible level. That's your monthly. That is the monthly level, but it's basically the market rallied up and then collapsed for that entire month. So that is the monthly high, which isn't really that relevant. They will be selling at the highs. Anybody that's looking at a monthly chart will see that as a sell level. But it's within the previous month's range. So it's not particularly good resistance, is it? So I would be looking up there for a bounce on this one if it can get a little bit higher. So I'm just watching this S&P. I'm just going to shut it. Out the S&P, banked. So that's 2.68, banked, 0.78, locked in as a hedge. So that's a guaranteed 2% day, isn't it? Basically, not worried about what this does now. So I'm out of that. We're struggling everywhere. Look, so there's a lovely big wick out of that buy. We've got wicks to the downside and rejection on the Dow. The NASDAQ has just tried to make a new low and failed. So the buyers are fully in control of this market at the moment with 3 minutes to go until the news, which could catapult this skyward. So no point in leaving that on and hoping. It's basically a 50-50 shot as to whether it drops or pops. If it drops, I would have lost $500 or $600. So just no point. Hedged on that, so we'll see what happens with that. But market's finding support down here at the moment. So I'll just deal with that other hedge on the NASDAQ. Why have I got 5 positions open on one instrument? So just got to deal with that Dow. Right, other ADRs we've got, RSIs we've got. Euro Swiss, that is extended to the upside on the 4 hour. Nice extension there. 80. Anything gets above 80 on the 4 hour, typically we get big moves off of. So it's not often you'll get an extension beyond 80 where you won't get a really fast pullback. It looks like it's starting now. I'm on Euro Swiss already on the hourly. So this is an H1 M5 mean reversion entry, but on the 4 hour, it looks even tastier. So this whole move here, we had a bit of a pullback there, tiny little flag there and a big rally up. So this whole move, I think, is worth a profit take. And that is the propulsion gap. I think we'll probably come back down and retest, assuming we don't continue in our current trend, which obviously is very much a downtrend. So if it's going to continue in a downtrend, obviously we'll be looking for a new low to be put in anyway. But you can tell the market's starting to slow down a little bit. So that's the last time we got above the 72. We hit the 72 again there and dropped. Now we've hit the 72 again already. So the rate at which we are tapping into this 72 moving average is increasing. So news is out. So this might well now pull back and then rally. And this might be the market structure low. In which case, obviously, I want to get out on the pullback before it goes up to the next leg. So that's extended on the 4 hour and obviously also extended on the hourly. Already one short on that because we've had the reverse alert on the 5 minute. News is out. Consumer confidence is 102.6 positive again for the US dollar. Indices down potentially. Not a lot of reaction at the moment, which I'm not really surprised about because we've had quite a lot of US dollar strength, obviously. So, EuroCAD, Euro Swiss we've already covered. Euro Yen obviously is extended. So anything that's extended on the Yen on the 4 hours and the hours, basically, they're all potential shorts, but not because they're extended on the RSI, because we're expecting the Japanese to sort of step in and do something about this weakness. So you can kind of ignore that, that one there, ignore that, ignore the pound yen as well. They are just extended and really good opportunities for shorts, but when, don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So the other extensions you've got on the 4 hour are the pound CAD. That was already played out. So we've had the rejection off of last week's high. So that's a 4 hour RSI extension, just got extended. It's not really even worth looking at. There's your reversal alert and your retest. So structure's going down nicely on that one. But that only literally just about tapped in. So you probably wouldn't have even got triggered on the EA on that. And the pound Swiss, very much the same, just above the 70 level. That's a really nice long extension with no profit take. So you'd be looking for that sort of move. So that looks like a pretty good short opportunity. On the 5 minute, reverse alert's not kicked in yet. You have had one this morning. So you had one there. And then obviously that got invalidated. So the entry is going to be there. So not far away from where the initial entry was this morning on that. So that's 4 hour RSI extension. Again, I much prefer them to be above the 75.80 level on the 4 hour. And you've got US dollar Swiss, which you've already looked at because that's an ADR extension to the upside. So Swiss franc weakening, US dollar powering up. That Swiss franc could change at any moment depending on what happens in the Middle East. If we get more escalation, more countries getting involved in the Israel incident, and yeah, we'll probably get more power in the Swiss franc and everything will start coming down against the Swissy again. So oil, so far today, we've gone absolutely nowhere. It's totally stuck. You can see the support rectangle here. We are just sitting inside of it at the minute. We tapped into the previous low yesterday. So I took another position on that yesterday, which was off of this weekly low. We bounced straight off of that. So we know the buyers that stepped in there are still around because they bought it again. But we haven't managed to make any progress today. So the sellers that drove us back down from that level are holding and supporting this level. So we're in a bit of a battle at the moment between this area and obviously trying to push through there. So tricky oil. Point of no return for me is below this low. If we break that, that's it. We're out because that market structure we're expecting to continue to make that $100 a barrel target. If that structure breaks, we know that that is a high, low, high, low. Yeah, what we're looking for is that. So I'm not quite sure why it would break that level. We've got a conflict going on. All good for everything's good for oil prices. Everything that's happening in the world at the moment is good for oil prices. Just not going anywhere, is it? So tricky, but in it. So holding it and waiting at the minute. We just made new lows on the S&P and the Dow. So ever so slightly just made a new low on the S&P and the Dow Jones. But we're not really going anywhere particularly. So for me at the moment, I'm hedged with a 0.78 DAX loss, which gives me basically 1.9% profit on the day. So plan for the DAX. Sorry, for the NASDAQ. We're obviously looking down at these pre-markets at the moment and we're buying this up. So that rally is getting added to. If we break that low, we're running straight into the buyers at yesterday's low. So you've got to break this level. You've got to break this level. And then you're going to hit everybody that has got unfinished business at the gap fill who's going to buy out of their positions there. So I can't see that 4R as being anything but a beautiful bounce point at the moment. Failing that, you'd be looking at the Friday low, basically, which they will probably buy up as well. So I'm going to leave my targets at 4R. And then I'll look to get an aggressive position on when we get some sign of buyers and try and get out of this one with whatever I can get out of it. A break even will do. But worst case scenario, if we just basically flip flop around here today, I'll just lock that in and take that on the chin basically and just bank 2%. Not a lot else we can do with that one today. NASDAQ is just unfortunate that we had that little rally up to start with. If we hadn't have had that rally up to start with, all three of those would be nice clean breaks today, but can't win them all. But if you can win two, you make money. Job done. Nokia. I saw somebody the other day with a Nokia 8210. You know, the old, really old Nokias. Everyone's going, what? Anyone that's under the age of 30 hasn't got a clue what I'm talking about. My first mobile phone was a Motorola, and it didn't even have a screen. I'll find you a picture. Motorola Mobile, 1990s. Where's my caps lock on? No, that's too modern. These are too modern. I'll show you my first one. No, these have got screens. Wow. That is old. Where's my phone? Wow. Maybe it was the 1980s. I can't even find it. But anyway, my first mobile phone literally didn't have a screen on it. It was like a brick. It was worse than a brick. There it is. That was my first phone, called the Motorola Personal Phone. That was my very first mobile phone. It cost me about 400 quid. It was ridiculous. So expensive. And it was like, when your phone rang, it was like, hello? Because you had no idea who was calling. And when you were dialing, you couldn't work out if you'd misdialed or not. Crazy. And the battery used to last, well, basically, I used to walk from my house to the pub, which is about 10 minutes, be in the pub for 2 or 3 hours. On the way home, this is the power meter. I'd have about that much battery left after about 4 hours. So I could go out for half a day if I'm lucky and get home with a battery that still worked. How good's that? So when you start talking about the old Nokias, I'm much more old school than that. I had one of those as well. I had one of those. That's the 9210, was it? That was the one. That was my favorite one. A little one of those. I had one of those. Motorola Flip. The very original Motorola Flip. I had one of those as well. Motorola they were the nuts. I had one of those little things as well. They were pointless. You couldn't do anything. That was the first phone that had that caterpillar game on it. Where you used to have to eat the bricks, eat the little caterpillar bricks. Anyway, I'm done for the day because I've made my money. So now I'm talking about bricks. There we go. So we got the bounce out of the lows. So they've bought up that low. That propulsion gap's held. NASDAQ potentially, the NASDAQ basically might be a good idea to get out of here, but what we could be witnessing here is a high, low, propulsion gap, hold, and drop. So if you're in the NAS and you're stuck and you haven't made profit and you're not sure what to do with it, you could exit the shorts here and assume that we're going to just go into sort of same as yesterday, go into some kind of rotation. Or at this level, we may well drop. So if you exit your longs, you can close the shorts out down here and exit with a profit. But tricky one today. My first one was an Alcatel 2000. Wow. I didn't have an Alcatel. They were probably too expensive. Yours looks modern compared to mine. Probably costs more now. It probably does. If you look at that on eBay, you'll probably find you have to pay £1,000 for that brick. My first car phone, you had to call via the operator. Blimey. Operator. I remember when people used to answer with your phone number. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, wasn't it? So somebody would phone you, go, hello, 123974, and they go, I know, I just called that number. I typed it in on my keypad. There's no need to say it back to me. I know who I phoned. Before caller ID. How do I activate another SIH license for my second laptop? Just download it. Just download it from the marketplace the same way as you did with the first one. So just go into your marketplace in your terminal, go to marketplace, go and find the indicator, the EA, and just download it. Same way as you did before. Just make sure you're logged into your MQL5 account you made the purchase with, obviously. Does the SIHEA still keep you in between 20 to 30% drawdown? What? No, God no. 20 to 30% drawdown? What do you mean, 20 to 30% drawdown? You wouldn't go to 20 to 30% drawdown on this unless you're risking like 5% a trade or something ridiculous. This isn't position trading. This is scalping. Totally different strategy. I don't know what you mean by 20 to 30% drawdown, Paolo. There's no drawdown. You are locking in 1% risk when you hedge. That's the whole purpose of this. There's your risk. That's it. Can't lose anymore. Can't win anymore today on that unless I close something out and try and get a movement. That's it. That's the whole point, is you're locking in. If you wanted to lock in 20% risk, you could do. If you risk 5% or 10% per trade, you could, yeah, I mean, you could, but that's not drawdown. That's a hedge. Different. Or am I misunderstanding completely what you're saying? I haven't really got anything else to cover today because that's literally it. I'm waiting basically for everything else to move. The main problem I've got at the moment is this Euro New Zealand that we've been stuck in now for 7 days. Just basically not going anywhere. This evening, we've got the unemployment rate for the New Zealand dollar. So that is where we're going to potentially get some movement on the New Zealand dollar. The forecast is 3.9 off of a 3.6. If that comes to pass, that will be negative New Zealand. If we get a figure below 3.9, we may get a bit of a rally off of the New Zealand dollar. If we get anything near 3.6, we're going to get strength on the New Zealand dollar. So at the moment, it's forecast to be a weak New Zealand dollar news. But obviously, as we know, with forecasts, they're not accurate. Otherwise, the news wouldn't make any difference to anything, would it? So there is potential for this to drop out, push out the highs this evening rather. So watch that level if we hit that today for a bounce. But we've got obviously the news, which could go either way. So Euro New Zealand at the moment, my average is all the way down there at 150 ADR. So I'm going to need a seriously big day off the New Zealand dollar overnight. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start scaling out of some of that because it's getting, it's not, particularly uncomfortable. It's just not moving. And the problem I think we'll find with this one is if we do rally out the highs overnight, we're going to forget that leg and we're just going to start a new leg up, which means it could well rally for another good, 2-3 ADR or so. So I will start to scale out of some of this, which is going to be annoying because it's going to hurt my month. I'm on 22% this month. So would be nice. Mind you, tomorrow is the first of the month, isn't it? So that is the end of the month, basically, 22%. But we'll see. But everything else is pretty much under control, apart from oil, which is still, sitting down here, not going anywhere today. But Again, same sort of thing, stuck. But at least we've got more upside potential on this because the entire market is calling $100 to $160 a barrel now. Forecasts are all over the place on oil, but they're all up. So I'm not as worried about oil as I am about the New Zealand dollar weakening. Tammy, 15-minute NAS. There you go. Have you not got a charting platform in front of you? There you go, 15-minute NAS. Hopefully that helps. We basically completely undone the entire day's movement so far. So we're back inside the opening range. Okay. Right, I'm going to leave it there because I've covered everything I need to cover today. Everything is basically absolutely all over the place today because of the yen. And that is still not stopping. So tomorrow is FOMC day. We quite often get a big day on FOMC day ahead of FOMC as the market repositions itself, ready for the news. We're not expecting anything but a 5.5. So I don't expect anything different at all. I'd be very surprised if the Fed changed their mind on it. Very surprised. If they do, we're going to have a hell of a move. But they're not going to. It's the forward guidance that we're interested in the press conference. So we should get some decent movement tomorrow. It either does one of two things. We either get a nice big ADR hit, and then they quite often undo that as they're repositioning themselves, or we get a load of crap sideways movement all day because the market's too scared to put any money into anything ahead of FOMC because they want to wait and see what happens. So the yen has really put a spanner in the works today by putting this massive move in because you can't tell whether this is a speculative move ahead of FOMC or if it is something else. We know it's the yen, and it's the weakening of the yen based on their monetary policy they've just changed. But that really screws up being able to tell what the hell's going on with the US dollar ahead of tomorrow. So anything could happen tomorrow. It's going to be a bit of a mess, I think, but nothing we can do. And then going into Thursday, we've got the Bank of England rate, which I think there is potential for a 5.5 on that, which would be a big shock and a big rally on the pound. So we'll see. Big news coming up end of week. And obviously it all starts tonight with the New Zealand rate. So just watch everything overnight, and tomorrow morning we'll see where we are. And not really going to get out of this NASDAQ, I don't think, today. So felt like I was at war with the markets this month. Turned a minus 10% into a plus 1% the last week. Exactly. You are part of the 5% brigade, Tom. You didn't make a loss. First step to becoming a profitable trader is breaking even, not losing money. If you can not lose money for 3 months, you pretty much cracked it. Nice rejection coming in here. This might be a nice area to start to get out of those longs, potentially, if you want to. I'm not going to do it on this account because there's no point. I've locked in 2% profit today. So it's a 42% month. Pretty happy with that, considering my first proper month trading the hedge strategy. But nice rejection wicks going on here. Look, on the NASDAQ. Also on all the other instruments as well. So this could well be just a pullback on a down leg to get that gap fill done. Don't forget we've got the gap fill on all of these to the downside to do. So see what happens. But this next candle might be a nice place to exit. Yeah, good job, Tom. Break even's break even. It's not a loss. Doesn't pay the mortgage, but it means potentially turning a corner. So, always good. Right, I'll leave it there. Anything you need, I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 1:20 for the New York session, and obviously for Frankfurt in the morning at 7:50 as usual. Bear in mind all the news overnight, and I'll be in Telegram if you need anything else. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.